$500,000. That's the number financial advisors tell you to aim for. You need at least $500,000 to retire comfortably. But here's the reality. 99% of Americans will never get there. Not because they're lazy, not because they're bad with money, but because the entire system is designed to make sure you don't. I'm going to show you the 5 reasons most Americans will never hit $500,000 in savings. The real reasons, not the BS excuses the financial industry feeds you. And I'll show you why that's actually okay, because you don't need $500,000 if you understand how retirement actually works. But first, let's talk about why that 500,000 number exists in the first place. Because it's not based on what you need, it's based on what the industry wants you to chase. Here's where that 500,000 number comes from. Financial advisors take your current income, multiply it by some magic number, and tell you you need this much to retire. If you make $60,000 a year, they say you need 10 times that, $600,000. If you make $50,000, they say you need $500,000. Sounds scientific, right? It's not. It's a sales pitch. Because here's the truth. The financial industry makes money when you save money. They charge fees on your accounts, percentages of your balance. The bigger your balance, the more they make. So of course they tell you that you need $1 million, or $2 million, or more. But let's look at reality. According to the Federal Reserve, the median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64 is $134,000. Not $500,000. Not even close. And you know what? Most of those people are retiring anyway. They're making it work. Not lavishly, but they're not starving either. So let's talk about why most people never hit that 500,000 mark, and why the system ensures you won't. Here's what you needed to do to hit $500,000 by retirement. Start saving at age 25. Put away $400 a month, every month, for 40 years at 7% average returns. By 65, you'd have about $1 million. Sounds simple, right? Except nobody's doing that. Why? Because at 25, you're not thinking about retirement. You're thinking about paying rent, paying off student loans, maybe buying a car that doesn't break down every month. $400 a month? That's a car payment. That's groceries. That's the difference between making rent and not making rent. And nobody sat you down at 22 and said, listen, if you don't start now, you're screwed. Your parents didn't tell you because they didn't know. School didn't teach it. Your first job offered a 401k, but nobody explained what it was or why it mattered. So you didn't sign up. Or you signed up but put in 2% because that's what felt safe. By the time you're 35 and you realize, oh crap, I need to save for retirement, you've already missed 10 years. And those 10 years, that's where the magic of compound interest happens. If you start at 25 and save $400 a month for 40 years at 7%, you get $1 million. If you start at 35 and save $400 a month for 30 years at 7%, you get $480,000. You lost $500,000 by waiting 10 years. Not because you're lazy, but because nobody told you early enough that those 10 years mattered. The system doesn't teach financial literacy in schools. It doesn't require employers to auto-enroll you in retirement plans. It just assumes you'll figure it out. And by the time you do, it's too late to catch up.
Reason number 2, life keeps punching you in the face. Let's say you did start saving at 25. $400 a month, you're on track. Then at 32, you lose your job. You're out of work for 6 months. You stop contributing to your 401k. You might even pull some out to pay bills. At 37, you have a medical emergency. $5,000 hospital bill. Insurance doesn't cover it all. You pull from savings. At 42, your kid needs braces and tutoring and a car for college. You pause retirement contributions for 2 years to cover it. At 48, your roof needs replacing. $15,000. You don't have it in cash, so you pull from the 401k. Every time life happens, your retirement plan takes a hit. And life happens to everyone. According to the Federal Reserve, 60% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency without going into debt. So how are you supposed to save $400 a month for 40 years straight when life keeps demanding money you don't have? You can't. And here's the kicker. The wealthy don't have this problem. When their kid needs braces, they don't stop contributing to retirement. They just pay for the braces out of cash flow. When their roof needs replacing, they write a check. They don't touch their investments. But for regular people,
Every emergency is a retirement setback. And over 40 years, those setbacks add up a lot. This isn't about discipline. It's about having enough margin to weather life without destroying your future. And most Americans don't have that margin. Reason number 3, your income never grew the way they said it would. Here's what they told boomers. Work hard, get promoted, your income will double every 10 years. You'll be making 6 figures by 50. And for a lot of boomers, that actually happened. But for Gen X and millennials, not so much. Wages have been flat for decades when adjusted for inflation. If you're making $60,000 a year now, there's a decent chance you were making $55,000 10 years ago, and inflation ate the difference. So you're not actually making more, you're just keeping up. Meanwhile, everything else got more expensive. Housing costs doubled, healthcare costs tripled, college tuition went up 500%. But your salary barely moved. So that $400 a month you were supposed to save, it's now going to rent, or your kid's college loan, or health insurance premiums. There's nothing left to save. And here's what the financial industry won't tell you. Their models assume 3% annual raises every year for 40 years. But most people don't get 3% raises. They get 2% or 1% or nothing. And when your income doesn't grow, your ability to save doesn't grow either. You're not failing. The economy failed you. The system promised rising wages and affordable living costs. You got neither. And now you're supposed to save $500,000 on an income that hasn't kept up with inflation. It's not possible.
Reason number 4, fees are eating you alive and you don't even know it. Let's say you did everything right. You saved, you invested, you're on track. But you're in a high-fee mutual fund, 1.2% annual fee. Doesn't sound like much, right? Over 40 years, that 1.2% fee will cost you over $200,000. Let me show you the math. You invest $400 a month for 40 years, 7% average return, 0 fees. You end up with about $1 million. Same scenario, but now you pay 1.2% in fees. You end up with about $780,000. You just lost $220,000 to fees. And most people have no idea this is happening. They see 1.2% and think, oh, that's barely anything. But fees compound against you every year for decades. And here's the worst part, the financial industry buries these fees. They don't show up as line items on your statement. They're deducted automatically from your returns. So you think you're earning 7%, but after fees, you're really earning 5.8%. And that difference, over 40 years, it's massive. Low-cost index funds charge 0.03%. High-fee managed funds charge 1 to 2%. That 1.97% difference can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you're in a high-fee retirement plan and you don't even know it, you're never hitting $500,000. The fees will eat it before you get there. Reason number 5. You're being told to save more than you actually need. Here's the big secret the financial industry doesn't want you to know. You don't need $500,000 to retire. You might not even need $300,000. Why? Because Social Security exists, and for most people, it covers 60 to 70% of retirement expenses. Average Social Security benefit, about $1,800 a month, $21,600 a year. If your retirement expenses are $30,000 a year, Social Security covers $21,600. You need to cover the gap, $8,400 a year. Using the 4% rule, you need $210,000 saved, not $500,000. But the financial industry doesn't tell you that. They say Social Security might not be there, or it won't be enough. So you panic and think you need $1 million. Here's the reality. Social Security will be there. It might be reduced, but it's not going away. And if you've got a paid-off house, low expenses, and even $200,000 in savings, you can retire comfortably. Not rich, but comfortable. The $500,000 target is designed to keep you saving forever, because the longer you save, the more fees the industry collects. They don't want you to retire at 60 with $250,000. They want you working until 70 trying to hit $1 million. But you don't need $1 million. You need a realistic budget, a paid-off house, Social Security, and enough savings to cover the gap. For most people, that's $200,000 to $300,000, not $500,000.
Look, I'm not saying don't save. Save as much as you can. But stop beating yourself up because you're not on track to hit $500,000. 99% of Americans won't hit that number. And most of them will still retire, and most of them will be fine. Here's what actually matters. 1. Pay off your house before you retire. That's bigger than any savings target. 2. Keep your expenses low. The less you need saved. 3. Maximize Social Security. Wait until 67 or 70 if you can. That guaranteed income is worth more than extra savings. 4. Save what you can. Even if it's not $400 a month, even if it's $100, something is better than nothing. 5. Stop comparing yourself to fake targets designed to make you feel inadequate. You're not behind. The system set you up to fail, but you can still retire. You just need to stop chasing someone else's number and start building a plan that works for your life. All right, that's it from the porch today.